Babies. To have a baby or not to have a baby. Of course, if you read the title of this video, I'm pretty sure you already know where my stance is on that entire issue. However, it's not that I don't want a kid. It's that I think having a kid is an irresponsible choice. And to be quite honest with you, there's actually a study where they put rats in a environment where there was no nutrients, isolation, every woman was miserable, and the rats decided to stop reproducing, and they even started eating their own young in order to survive. The maternal instinct involves eating young, abandoning young, tossing young out. But because we live in a human society, we don't get the opportunity to toss our kids out. Or we should have that opportunity and that right, but they got rid of it. Because animals can't have an abortion when they're pregnant, so they eat the baby after the baby comes out, because that's where unwanted kids go in real life, in the wild. I'm sorry to tell you that. That's maternal instinct for you. Yeah, so as much as I would love a baby and love a family and love a happy ending to all this, the truth is I don't want to sacrifice what it's going to take to bring someone into this world for mediocre reasons. I don't think it's a responsible choice to have a baby. And this is why I'm never having kids. If you guys are new here, my name is Shelby. I exist and I make stuff. And I talk about life usually from a very pessimistic perspective, and that's just the way I see the world. I'm just a regular person living my life, and I like to share my life sometimes with you guys too. So honestly, first and foremost, on a selfish note, I don't want to sacrifice my freedom. I don't want to bring an innocent life into this world just to have me resent it or regret it. And to be honest with you, having more free time to dedicate to the act of creating stuff is part of my identity, and I don't want to lose my identity in having a kid. And there's a lot more unselfish reasons for not having a kid too, by the way. We're going to get into that. And as we know, raising kids is expensive. That goes without saying. But by not having kids, you'll never have a kid that knows the struggle of poverty, basically. And you can meet your personal saving goals because you're not putting it into daycare. And you're not locked into a job that you don't want because you have a baby that's dependent on you for every single thing. I don't really get why people need someone to need them. I've never been someone that needs to be needed. Like without kids, I don't have to work around their schedule or handle the logistical nightmare of arranging childcare. I don't have to worry about relocating an entire family. I don't have to worry about potentially losing my job to an emergency because of the child. And I avoid the motherhood penalty in my employment, if I had employment, of course. But if you're employed and you go back to work after having a baby, basically you have someone else raising your kid. You're basically abandoning the kid. And then you're left picking up the pieces in a life that doesn't make sense. I just can't imagine having to leave a kid in a daycare just to earn money to pay someone else to take care of my kid in order to survive. It doesn't seem like it makes sense to me. I don't want to worry about compromising my relationships or risk becoming a single mother after the relationship's dynamics change during pregnancy. A lot of women end up getting unalived. They end up, because their partner decides to do this while they're pregnant, and then what? Now you have no baby, no person, and he's in prison. And maybe if you're lucky. If you're one of the lucky ones, he gets held accountable. It's so unbelievable. And I can focus fully on dedicating myself to a mate or a partner instead of, having kids together and having that fuck everything up, I guess. Of course, he could always change his mind and decide to have kids with somebody else. You never really know. I mean, that could definitely happen. By resisting having kids just to check society's boxes, you have avoided society's pressures and basically established yourself as an autonomous person. And parenthood comes with blame, judgment, and all of that your kids have to experience as well. I can define my own path separate from the pressures of society. And by avoiding pregnancy, I can become part of my community and contribute to ways outside of childcare and outside of making more people. I have the freedom to focus on my own personal growth and education in subjects that are meaningful to me, not just in order to earn a living. And my resources are all for me and my own personal achievement. And I know there's people that are deeply enriched and find deep fulfillment in motherhood. I just don't think I would be one of those people. I just know my personality. My parents know my personality. And no one really thinks it's a great idea for me to be having kids at all or ever. The freedom from stress and worry is another big one. I don't have to worry about, a kid choking on something or turning my back for 5 seconds and having it end up in a gorilla enclosure. We see these kids getting hurt all the time on YouTube. It's a common thing. Infants die. Babies die. And I don't want to say that, but there is a chance that you would have a baby that doesn't make it. People die every day. And every person who is born is somebody's child. And if that person is under age 50, it's pretty likely that their mother just lived to see the end of their child's life. So you could even outlive your kid. And then it was for what? What do you get at the end of it? A lot of labor for nothing. It's better to have loved and lost than to have never have loved at all. I'm so enriched by the time I got to spit. Blah, blah, blah. I don't believe that. Crappy. Not for me. Goodbye. I'm one of those people that needs sleep and downtime in order to be a functional human, and I fear that having kids would bring out the worst in me due to exhaustion, and I wouldn't be able to be there for the child, and it wouldn't be fair. And a child can't consent to be born in the first place. Like, I myself have wrestled with my own existence and trying to find meaning, resources, companionship, the means to go on in such a cruel and random world. And as someone who has wrestled with the absence of choice in my own existence, I have wrestled with loneliness, like cold, true, capital L, loneliness in this life due to my illness. I have lost every friend that I've ever had because I was too sick to see them. For a decade, I've been lonely. And I don't want to bring another kid into this world just to have company for me and then not be able to take care of them because of my aforementioned illness. I wouldn't want to put that burden on another person. And the craziest part about this is that, the right, the conservatives often try to purport that they are the voices of the unborn, that they're doing the world a service by forcing people into existence, ripping them from the void, forcing unwanted people, and then taking away government benefits that they would have needed to survive without a family in the first place. So now you just have a bunch of fucking hobos on the street now. I'm sure there's a couple success stories. There always is. Those are the ones they're going to show you. They're going to show you the SA baby that became a doctor. But they're not going to show you the SA baby that continued the cycle of abuse and ended up on the streets doing, Finny behind the dumpster. Trust me, we're going to see a lot of shit like this coming up in the next coming decades. Yet the most compassionate thing you can do, honestly, the conservatives say the most compassionate thing you can do for a baby is to protect it and let it be born into this. You're not protecting shit. The most protective thing you can do for a baby is to send it back into the void or not get pregnant in the first place. You're not going to change my mind on that. Life isn't not sacred. It is suffering. You spare someone the unpredictability of life, which could include disability, illness, homelessness, war, exploitation, natural disaster, a drunk driver, somebody, getting in your way at the grocery store, cutting you off with their shopping cart, stubbing your toe, and breaking a nail. Like, there's so many fucking things that could go wrong in this child's life, and you're telling me you wanna put him through it. That's not very nice. That's not very loving. The forced birth to poverty pipeline, we're going to see it in these upcoming decades now that Roe v. Wade was overturned. And we're going to see the truth of the matter of what that's going to really look like. And they're not going to show you that part on the news outlets. They're just going to show you the success stories. But I guarantee you we're going to see a lot of unspoken people, invisible people that were forced birth conceived. And they're going to be contributing jack shit to society. Imposing life on someone is an absolutely selfish act, and it raises questions about autonomy and the moral implications of creating a new human being without their agreement. Like, how many people simply exist because their parents gave into societal familial expectations rather than a conscious decision based on deeper reasons? I would estimate, this is just me, that half of everyone born is either a backshot baby or a child born out of obligation or an oops baby, which is basically a backshot baby. So you're either a backshot baby or an oops baby, or an obligation baby, a shut up baby, so to speak. And if life begins without consent of the child, it raises questions about the parent's moral responsibility when it comes to that child's pain and suffering. Like, you brought them here. I guess you just expect them to suffer. What is the point? Oh, we got a kitty coming in. Contributing another generation of factory workers and low-wage workers and cashiers seems like a waste of my resources personally. And there's always a chance that he could become a doctor or a lawyer, but at the end of the day, your child is most likely going to be a fucking disappointment. Because I know I am, for my parents. And the person who now exists to struggle to survive and go through a broken and corrupt system, just like you did. And continuing this cycle seems like a waste of resources and energy. Quality of life is more important than simply existing. The lack of abortion rights will only increase child abuse and poverty, merely churning out more low-wage workers that were becoming in short supply. That's why they're doing it. It has nothing to do with saving lives. They're rolling back benefits and then expecting babies to just have no family and survive and be fine and happy. Good luck. By challenging dominant cultural narratives and leaving the unborn in the void, we separate ourselves from cultural expectations and in doing so establish autonomy, especially as women. True story. Having kids can come with an endless amount of unforeseen circumstances. Many parents regret their child for these reasons. No parent expects to have a profoundly disabled child, and yet it happens every single day. Parents may actually have kids out of fear of being alone, but I ask any parent in the early stages of child rearing how isolating parenthood can be. My mom said she was very lonely as a new mom. She basically didn't have any friends when she was raising me. I was colicky. Couldn't give me to my dad because he couldn't do jack shit with me. So good luck. You're a married single mom now. Have fun with that. No, thank you. Parents may actually have kids out of fear of being alone, which is insane to me. I've been lonely, but you can be lonely and be with family. Having kids diminishes your social circles. It limits the ability to see existing friends and family. They call it being baby trapped for a reason because you lose your entire support system in the process. Meaning that strangers, usually both parents have to work, so strangers are going to be raising your baby. What's the point? Unless you're clearing $150K a year, which is, almost impossible, and that's less than 90% of people. No, 90% of people can't do that. They can't actually live a life where the child is having a stay-at-home parent. You can pray on it. You can say God will provide, but it's not going to provide you money. That's what the devil does. The devil pays better. I'm just going to let you know that. Satan pays way better. Sorry, kids. There's so many poor Christians out there that it's actually crazy. You have like Rio de Janeiro or whatever. You have Brazil, which is a very Christian country, with crazy poverty and corruption. Make that make sense. Then there's the reality of miscarriage, stillbirth, maternal mortality, birth complications, all of which has skyrocketed post the Roe v. Wade overturn. And certain places even don't have enough physicians to treat women's healthcare problems because they're afraid of repercussions of restricted abortion access. Like if you administer an abortion to someone that's had a miscarriage and they need a D&C, you can actually lose your license for that. So they actually have to have the mother's life at risk before you can ever have an abortion. And just letting you guys know, if abortion can be criminalized regardless of whether or not the baby was wanted, there is also the risk to the mother's health. So you have to be almost on the cusp of death before they're willing to help you. And of course, corpses are being forced to have babies exhumed from their dead bodies in the state of Georgia, where I live. And, if you lose a pregnancy, you could lose your life due to being denied a D&C, which should have been considered a routine procedure in the first place. Not to mention tearing, irreparable damage to the body of the mother, the mental and emotional toll of postpartum depression, hemorrhaging, having your man leave you, eclampsia, gestational diabetes, war, unemployment, which can all result in disability or even death. At this point, just unalive yourself because it's not even worth it. Risking your life, livelihood, and social standing just to bring another average person onto Earth to live what would most likely be a mediocre life is not worth the cost of admission. It's not worth the risks. Not to mention I simply don't have the resources, not just financially, but also in terms of my health and energy as well. And I want more than anything to break the cycle of dysfunction in my family. And having kids puts me at risk for continuing these patterns and passing down health problems without the responsibility of parenting. or with responsibility of parenting, and I can focus on my own growth and development, and in doing so break cycles of dysfunction through self-development, and also act as a role model for my siblings' descendants so that they can know it's possible. Because I hold a very pessimistic view of the world, I truly believe that life is more negative than it is positive, and I'm struggling alone to make sense of the absurdity and futility of my own life, let alone guide another person through this hot frickin' mess. At the end of the day, I just don't want to be a mom. I know nothing about childcare. It's not in line with my personality. It would be a ruthless grind, and it's better left to other people. I know that the far right likes to say that we're dooming ourselves, but I really don't give a shit. I'm already doomed. I can either be doomed right now, or I can be doomed with a baby. Imagine drowning and then somebody hands you a baby. I heard that on a thing, and I didn't write that, obviously, but seriously, I love that line, because that's basically what it is. Rebuking cultural norms often sparks the projection of shame from those who adhered to them. This only comes from a place of jealousy of their own limited worldview and of what's actually possible, and in other words, misery loves company. If your culture of origin is trying to control you through shame, don't fold, don't cave in. Stay on the board. It's time to go all in with your beliefs, because they want you to suffer, and they only care about how it makes them look. They're not doing this because they think you're missing out on something. They're not doing this because they want what's best for you. They're doing it because they're miserable and they want to see you be pulled down with them. And they hate seeing a selfish woman who's a free agent. They absolutely hate that shit. And then, of course, there's the old adage, who will take care of you when you're old? And, of course, simply breeding to produce elder carers is an unreliable choice at best for this endeavor, not to mention completely unfair to the kids. And by taking and investing what you would have spent on childcare, you can easily afford elder care instead for yourself. And as far as legacy goes, how much do you actually remember about your own great-grandparents? How much do you know about your great-great-grandparents? How much do you know about your grandparents? Or your parents? Like, for real. I mean, how many of us are living legends? Like, oh my god, you know, Sean from HR, wow, what a legend. He's going to use his amazing nepotism in the world of low finance at frickin' Bank of America. What a guy, you know, he's gonna breed the next generation of office clerks. Wow, what a fucking beast. Yeah, we're gonna remember him for the rest of our lives. That's his legacy. What is the point of that? I don't really get it. Most of us are forgotten within generations, a couple generations. Like, I would probably be forgotten within a year because no one's gonna remember me, and that's fine with me. And we're left on our own to fucking survive in this shit. And besides, lineage and legacy are two different things. I don't have genetics that the gene pool can't live without. In fact, it's better off if I don't pass my genetics down and I cut my genes off from the gene pool, point blank, period, end of story. In a world of criminalized pregnancy, uncertainty, and struggle for basic survival, I will not be contributing to a future generation of people who struggle. This struggle ends with me, and there's nothing selfish about sparing future generations from this existence. In fact, not having kids is one of the kindest things you can do for your kids if you actually love them. So anyway, that brings us to the end of today's video. There's a lot of reasons that maybe you guys can contribute to in the comments. I'd love to hear your take on why you don't want kids or why you do. And if you have any other reasons, just besides being fruitful and multiplying and just being a breeder, then let me know. I'm interested in why you want to have kids. If you guys want to support this channel, the usual ways: subscription, comment, super chat, super thanks, buy me a copy, check out my Shopify, my Instagram. You know what it is. You know the drill. It's Shelby. She exists. She makes stuff sometimes. And now she's signing off. Goodbye.